How are you, Luis? It's a pleasure to greet you and your entire audience. Likewise, Antonio. A real bombshell has been revealing itself since yesterday evening afternoon. You managed to see the images. You got to see Mencho's body. Correcto mundo, Luis. We discussed it here on Pie de Nota. I was one of the critics of the federal authorities for not showing the body, and a journalist's work means that no one remains with doubt. Sometimes y'all just say whatever you want without fact checking it in. You look at us like we stupid for questioning it, and tell us how ridiculous we are. We searched, we dug deep, and fortunately, we made some shit up. Just kidding. We dug deep, and fortunately, we were able to confirm, and I'm not an expert, but at least from a journalist's perspective, we were able to observe these photographs and see all the changes that Mencho made to himself, how he lived in his last days, how he looked. And the important thing is to confirm, evidently, that it is actually the most sought after capo in recent years. Antonio, I got a question. How exactly did you gain access to these images? Did they send them to you? AKA, do you got them in a dossier that we could put on our website? Did they lend you a cell phone? Did they summon you somewhere? How was it? They are official documents. I didn't see this through any device that include, and I want to emphasize, the signature of the expert. The signature is on it of the expert who did the morphological comparison. His signature appears as if to qualify that this work was done. A 9-point comparison on the face was made, compared with a photograph that the DEA had. And it was disseminated, that photo was disseminated by the U.S. government. And with that photograph, the comparison was made. And it was a match. He didn't say shit. He said a whole bunch of, I ain't gonna tell you. But I was also privy to the process of how he was killed, how the confrontation was, and how the follow-up was. Because apparently, and according to what I've been able to investigate, the investigation is not over against the 4 letters cartel. It does not end with the killing of the leader. But this opens up another lead for other types of proceedings that will be carried out. What did you see in those images? How did he look? All right, in his late days, Mencho had a beard transplant? For real? He couldn't just grow one? All right, he had a very defined beard. He had it treated with balms, and then he was oiling his beard and everything on the run. That's nice. He's having a nice time on the run. Oh, you say he had it dyed with Just for Men. How you know it was Just for Men and not Rewind? Rewind. What's up with the sponsorship, bro? Damn, so it wasn't a transplant. It's not a transplant if you have it dyed, right? If it's a transplant, it's a transplant. If it's dyed, it seems like it's your beard. He had his teeth whitened. They were perfectly aligned. He looked slim. He looked younger than what a 59-year-old person could appear. This was because he had a facelift. Damn, this guy got all the information, boy.
Oh, too much information and shit.
Crazy. He looked fit. He didn't drink alcohol. And he was undergoing various treatments for different illnesses that plagued him for the past few years. This is how Mencho looked. He looked slimmed, he looked fit, and these are the main characteristics that could be observed in the photographs. Were you able to see the wounds? Were you able to see the bullet wounds, the impacts? Or was he already, let's say, prepared for the grave? No, he was already worked on by the experts. What could be seen was the rictus. So rictus is a fixed, unnatural grin or gaping grimace, often displaying teeth, which signifies fear, pain, or death rather than joy. It is characterized by stiff facial muscles and parted lips, sometimes referred to as a rictus grin or death rictus. It can also refer to an anatomical gape of a bird's mouth. What could be seen was the rictus that the boss had. He had a sudden death grimace. Although this might seem logical to people, it is not. Throughout my career, I've seen hundreds of corpses, in person and many more through photographs, and the rictus in which Mencho had was particular, with his eyes open, his mouth open, and a clot of already blackened blood in his mouth. So they caught did they catch his terror? Did they smoke him in the midst of his terror? And that shit stayed on his face? In this document that you got, Antonio, how many images were there? Were they full body portraits? Were they half the body? What did you see? There were images of all kinds, Luis. There was all kinds of images. He had no tattoos. For example, it was evident that the expert work was focused on aspects of identification. So I guess the experts weren't really there for aesthetic and what he looked like. They were just there to make sure it was him. Hit that like button if you have yet to do so. His nails were cut. He was perfectly prepared by the experts. He said you could see the bullet holes, but there was no blood on the body or anything like that. Do the bullet holes match with what was publicly reported? I mean, I think there weren't any in the face. There weren't any in the head. I want to point this out. Absolutely 100%. His head didn't take any damage. No deformation to his head from a projectile, nothing. He said, shit, he had a rejuvenated face. He said, think about it, all the images that we have of him, the physiognomic features do coincide, but it seemed that time had not passed too much for the boss. And there are no blows, for example. He likes calling him boss a lot, huh? There are no signs of dragging on the body, where you can see at least. No scrapes on the cheeks or the forehead, nothing like that. The body looks exactly as described or stated by the authorities. They did not receive any type of gunshot or coup de grace, for example, in the back of the head, in the back of the neck. You can't see any of that at all. In the document, what does it say about the day Mencho was killed? And what happened afterwards? Luis is very interesting because everything that started on February 13th was a party, let's say a get-together with its main supporters who came to the club in Tapalpa, and they would leave and others would arrive and continue the party. So they was partying. I party. We did hear that. Didn't we hear that? They was partying out there on the run, party. Atención, I party. At first, they had a family atmosphere, and as most parties of Latinos and Caribbeans, the shit went left and turned into straight up fuckery by the end of the night. Puteria and all kind of shit. The music got louder. First it was a family atmosphere, then the music got louder and the alcohol was pouring. Various women, and one woman is blonde and in her 20s. He talking about a young blonde. We heard about a woman in her 50s, right? That was brought there by another man that got popped off. Yeah, that's see, looking for less. They implying that one influencer was there. That's what I'm seeing, Mama better. She says she ain't been in Mexico in years. Again, she could be lying. Everybody lies, but I threw her all the way out the story. As far as I'm concerned, that's a non-story. Maybe they make me wrong. We shall see. And then he stopped. Excuse me. No, it's not the same one now, but they sound like they confuse each other. What do you mean by same one? My thoughts, my observation is the Guadalupe lady. Wasn't that her name? She was in her 50s, and supposedly she was plugged, and that was the first story that they gave us. Then they gave us the influencer. I balked at the influencer. He's asking, is it the same woman? Be specific, bro, so we're not asking no fucking questions. Is it the same lady, the one in the publication? Which fucking publication? You know what I'm saying? Y'all are having inside baseball. We're here to listen and understand what y'all talking about. They're two different people, but both people did attend. All right, who are they? Are you talking about the 55-year-old and you talking about the 20-something-year-old? And is the 20-something-year-old the influencer that was rumored? They're not being clear on that. Shout out Zoraida. So it's not the lady. They're not being clear on that. All right, they're two different people, but both people were there. First comes the wife, the official one, the one we have published. Okay, so that's the lady. Maybe he had the doña and the influencer both with him. Quite possible. Well, it was a party. Does he have a wife? I don't think he has a wife. So are they talking about, when he says the wife, is he talking about the Guadalupe lady? First comes the wife, the official one, the one we published. So that she's not the wife, but he must be talking about that lady. The lady in her 50s. She came with her daughters and they visited the drug lord. Okay. They were with him on February 14th and then they left. There's no surveillance of any kind against them beyond intelligence gathering. There are no court orders against this woman. Was it with Rosalinda? No, not Rosalinda. And then on the 21st, this other woman arrives. Well, that's not what they told us. They told us that the original, the first lady, right, his supposed love, they told us first it was her. And then the next day they snatched him. That's what they told us. Blonde hair, looking like she had some kind of surgery. Who needs the surgery at 20 years old? She arrives and stays with the boss in one of the cabins and leaves the next day. But he's not going to verify whether it's that influencer or not. And maybe there was a blonde. Maybe that's why they put it on that influencer. The rumor. I can't trust people to pick people out in the street. I don't trust eyewitnesses, bro. We're not paying attention, bro. Humans don't be paying attention. So the lady that was seen by the drone with two children was his wife. That's what I think that this guy is just calling her. AKA his bottom bitch. My main squeeze. My main girl, not my side chick. He called her a wife. Shout out Tere. Who's the blonde? They not saying if the blonde is that influencer. You know what I'm saying? That's the part that, clear that up if you got the information. If not, tell us it's the influencer so I can say that I was wrong and then go down that path and look through there. Shout out Nando. Bearded Mencho can handle both. Now, I did see a video of her saying, I don't know, my name Bennett. I ain't in it. I wasn't there. I ain't been to Mexico in a long time. I believe she's Colombian. I don't know if that's who they are inferring that it is. She fits the profile. It's 1 million OnlyFans girls. It's 1 million girls in circles like that fit the profile. Did they talk about the shooting and the operation? How he died? Yes. For example, the tracking that was done with the drone, it was an interdisciplinary effort between the Navy and the Ministry of the National Defense. This drone, from what I could see, are a very technical aspect, but I want to translate them for you and for your audience. All right, they're heat detecting drones. And that's how they calculated the number of people who were there and those who made up the security ring in the different cabins. They also conducted a sweep using this drone or another drone that detects how many phone signals are connected to a Wi-Fi network. Also to calculate the communication between them. So how long you think they were on them? Listening, watching. You see, they didn't want to go in during the party. They don't want those problems. So some devices were intercepted by this drone, signal repeaters. So what they did was a technological job. It was a job where, in addition to having already been tracking this woman, who's the main one, the official partner of the drug lord. So there it is. Not the wife. He just called her that. But, be specific, Papa. So the official partner and her daughters arrived, which we published as an exclusive. There's this intelligent work, vehicle design, and the other girl. They already detected her with the drug lord in some other meetings. Who's the blonde, bro? They got to tell us who the blonde is. We want a name. They'd already detected her with the drug lord in some other meetings. So there are already photographs. There's been specific tracking of her since months ago. Oh, my goodness. Whoever that is, they got problems. We need a name or a face. Here's the thing. It already damned the girl that we think it wasn't. So for those that don't know, right after it went down, again, same as the Mayo story, we don't listen to everything that comes out because a lot of it is bullshit, right?
Bullshit.
And we go through it and we decide what's worth our time and what's not. I went through a video where they said that there was this blonde girl. She was an OnlyFans model, quote unquote influencer, and it had an AI call. Heard the AI call, heard Velez's analysis of it where he said, yeah, it kind of sounds like the Mencho call that we all know. And it absolutely did. And it sounded like AI. And I'm still standing on it that it's AI. There might be a blonde-headed 20-something-year-old girl. And that's why they mistook this quote-unquote influencer girl for it. Or it's her. So they've been on whoever this blonde is for months. Meeting with drug lords in Manzanillo and again in Puerto Vallarta. As a result of these surveillances on the women, so to speak, of the capo, it's confirmed that he was there. Especially with the first woman because they are his daughters. Wait, now he's saying that him and this lady have children together? This is a lot of shit that we didn't hear before. Before we heard it was her and her children. Now they saying they were his daughters. It's confirmed more with the first woman because they are his daughters. So this is irrefutable, isn't it? So that would say he has young children? What are we talking about here? Are we talking about the girl with the coffee shop in Cali? Like, what are we talking about here? The Army intelligence, the Navy intelligence obviously confirmed it. So it was believed that Mencho moved to different points or didn't stay in the same place for long. I was wondering why she would take children to see Mencho. It would sound strange, but if you're going to see a crazy drug lord, you might not trust anybody else with your kids. You know what I mean? Guess what? Y'all coming with me. My understanding is that there are 2 women, and I guess one of the women is the mother of 2 of his daughters. Yeah, that's something that we didn't know. I didn't know that. And we're trying to see if the second woman, the blonde, is indeed the quote-unquote OnlyFans model / influencer that they mentioned after it all went down. That we looked at like it was bullshit.
Bullshit.
Let's see. So at first it was believed that if he had already seen his daughters, he would leave the cabins. However, with the arrival of the second woman, coño, man, it ain't bad enough that it was one woman that fucked up your hood situation, but it was 2 of them motherfuckers, man. God damn. It was confirmed that the drug lord was there. And that's when President Claudia Sheinbaum authorized the operation. The clashes lasted more than 8 hours. Damn. Okay, that was a long fight. I want to clarify, I couldn't see how many dead there were. That's as far as I got because it's a very extensive investigation. Again, I told you, they've been triple talking the point of the bodies. They don't want to clarify whether it was 12 bodies along with the 3 in the helicopter. They don't want to clarify if it was, 12 without the 3 on the helicopter. They don't want to clarify none of that shit. And evidently, he didn't get that far either. I hope to keep digging into that. Good, because we asked the same question at the beginning of this whole situation. Every time they start talking mealy-mouthed about something, we got to make sure find the bullshit in there. He says, because I want to find out because I still have doubts about how many people were killed along with the drug lord that day. I agree. See, we ain't crazy. We over here thinking about the same shit that these journalists is thinking about. We asking the right question. So to you, you don't have no doubt that it is indeed Mencho who is dead. I asked you this because, as you rightly said at the beginning, you were one of the first to criticize and express doubt, saying, we don't know. Several drug dealers have died 2 or 3 times, meaning people faking their death. He said, and also because of the reason, Luis, from the government. It's more of the reason why they showed us the photographs. Now that I've seen them, I understand why. It's a confrontation against one of the most powerful cartels, because it's not something the government wants on the eve of the World Cup. However, I think this operation was carried out due to a lot of pressure from the United States. What upper echelon be saying? You put pressure on one, they put pressure on the other. A lot of pressure to get results. Because remember that the United States is also the organizer of the World Cup, or the main organizer. So they morally confronted them, so to speak. They didn't want to confront them by releasing the leader of the 4 letters photographs, showing their leader killed. I think it would have caused much more chaos. I think confronting a cartel that thought it was protected in that way, that needs to be pointed out. He on their ass right now. They thought they were protected. Mencho, at no point did he believe they were going to go after him. That's why he stayed in the same place for so many days. He got comfortable. He got betrayed. But in a game of betrayal, what is betrayal? Just another part of the game. Just moving from cabin to cabin. He stood in the same place, but just moved from cabin to cabin throughout the country club. What I'm told, what I've gathered from talking to my sources who saw these photos, is that there was a high possibility that Mencho would decide to surrender. Correct. This isn't confirmed. It's simply something that was known within the cartel's leadership, which I also want to clarify that the real owners of the cartel aren't the people close to Mencho through family or through blood ties. They're the Queenies, the Valencias. They are and will be the owners of that cartel. All right, this is a point that upper echelon brings to you guys on a regular basis, and makes clear to people. And people say, oh, you don't know what the fuck he's talking about. He makes it clear. And they say, oh, he's a hater. He wouldn't say that while he was alive, blah, blah, blah. He been telling y'all that the Valencias were the ones in that cartel. That it was their shit, and Buddy was, he not the owner of it. They have been, are, and will be the owners of that cartel. But obviously, the public face of it was El Mencho. I know, from what I've discussed, is that they had no idea they were going after him. He wasn't mentally prepared for a confrontation like the one that unfolded. The federal government and the Ministry of National Defense really took him by surprise. Woo! That put everybody else on notice. Again, like upper echelon, like Jay Flores be saying, that put people on notice. Don't get comfortable. And everybody whose palms you greased with some money, they might come to get you right after they cash their check. An 8-hour firefight would produce so many spent rounds, there would have been brass everywhere. First thing I saw when the chick went into the house was where's all the brass? I don't know that fight happened in that house. I as a matter of fact, I know that fight didn't happen in that house. That brass came from outside. I think Mencho's dead, but I also think there will be a lot of conspiracy theories because the government is being so secretive about the situation. He said it. He said they are about certain things. And yeah, we're going to have conspiracy theories. We've had them. They started that day. We still sifting through them, But yeah, I think he's gone. The family didn't go fake mourn, bro. Does this put you at any risk, Antonio? You guys, they like to concentrate on that shit and put that shit out there. Revealing then that you saw firsthand the images of Mencho's body. No, Luis, I don't think so. I firmly believe not, because I've done my job ethically. And I haven't revealed, nor will I reveal the photographs. If those photographs get revealed by somebody else that got them in their hand, they're going to blame you because you're the one outside talking about it. I won't reveal the photographs or anything else I was privy to. I won't be sharing anything from that open case, which is being continued by other investigations involving other important figures. There's other investigations involving other important figures that we haven't talked about as much as Mencho, but they're the ones pulling the strings behind this powerful criminal group. So no, Luis, I think revealing a photograph of this magnitude would go against what my sources have asked of me, and obviously against how people who followed this drug lord for many years might perceive it. If it's not you, Papa, it's going to be somebody. It's going to happen, and it's going to happen soon. If they're out there, if he's not the only one that saw it, and he's Mr. fucking, morals and integrity, cool. Somebody going to drop that shit. It'll be out there. This isn't the first time I've had a job like this. I've always acted with respect for everyone. The victims, the complainants, in this case, even respect for the body, for the person who has died. Do you think those images will ever be released? They've had this conversation already. I just told you it was going to happen. Somebody going to release that shit. And he said, do you think anybody will see those pictures? He said, that's a decision of the government. I think now that I've spoken with these people, that I've spoken extensively, that I've had the opportunity to question them, I don't think it would be right for the government to release them. But I would have liked, and I'm making an open invitation to authorities for them to really explain the reason for the operation. Because, Luis, as far as I could gather, there wasn't a legal basis. A legal basis for what? For the operation? He's the biggest drug lord. What you mean? Obviously, I don't want to defend anyone or make it seem like I'm defending any criminal. You kept calling them the boss. But I would like the government to explain how these decisions are made. I already told you how they're made. They know where everybody's at. It's when it works for them. When the pressure's on them, they say, you know what, hit that button. And they hit a button on them. No? Tell me I'm wrong. How are these? He said, I want the government to explain how these decisions are made. Good luck with that. Is it related to the World Cup? Is there some other reason? And did they know there was a risk to the population while the operators and Mencho were in this place? He's on the run. Ain't he a wanted man? Ain't there millions on his back? What more excuse you need? What's this guy asking for? No, the government decides when they're ready to go, and they go. That's it. Because I get the impression that I don't know if it was the best decision to take down a drug lord of such magnitude at this time, especially since he didn't know. He had no clue. The drug lord, as I told you, he didn't know. What is this guy talking about now? He wasn't expecting this confrontation. What do you want them to do? Give him a call? Hey, Papa, we cashed that check that you sent us today? Yeah, we cashed that. You know what I mean? But we on your ass in about 2 hours, all right? Strictly business. Boom. That's what you want them to do? They did what they do, how they do it. The cartels ain't explaining to you what their decision-making process is. Fuck out of here. He was in the process. Okay, now that's different. Now, if you're saying that, hey, he was in the process of surrendering to the United States, all right, now that gives it a different wrinkle. But otherwise, they don't need no justification. They going to do what the fuck they do when they do what they do. That's it. I would like the government to explain how these decisions are made. And if not taking down these drug lords in these circumstances, well, it leaves us with more uncertainty than we had before this decision was made. Dude, FBI top wanted. He talking about what basis did they have for an arrest? Yeah, easy. I think the images will come out eventually, most likely once the situation dies down. Absolutamente. Sam, shout out to Sam on the check-in. Absolutely. There's no way. Especially if he's seen them, that means other people have seen them. That means other people have screenshotted them. It's in somebody's possession. Now we know there's another woman supposedly, so we'll keep an eye on it. And I didn't know he had daughters. Now we got what? A new count on how many children he had? Did anybody else know he had young daughters from this woman that supposedly came to see him? That come from an influential family, a family with some money on that side? Those pictures will come out though. I don't doubt it a little bit. Humans, man, humans can't hold water. Definitely those pictures are gonna come out.